Ah yes, Tokyo Mirage Sessions, a game that has been an interesting topic point for a lot of people over the years. A joint effort by both Atlus and Nintendo. Nintendo funded the entire project, and Atlus had absolutely nothing to lose by creating this game. However, the reception to the game was somewhat mixed between fans. Some loved it, some hated it. To me, I never really understood the hate. So this is why I've started to create this video. Whether or not the game has succeeded in its own right is one thing, but today, I'm going to give you 5 good reasons why you should pick up Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore on the Nintendo Switch. Before we really get started right here, I want to introduce my guest for this video. You may know him from his YouTube channel, David Cast JRPGs. Without further ado, David, take it away.
In January 2013, we got an announcement that kind of got me excited. We got the announcement of Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem, 2 series that I hold very close to my heart, so don't think I gotta tell you guys that I was extremely excited after this announcement. This first trailer was amazing, bunch of SMT characters, including the first protagonist of Megaton, crazy stuff. Marth and Roy, everyone together, that was the biggest, most amazing thing ever. In my head, I had something in mind. I had this in mind. Those 2 games, Devil Survivor, Fire Emblem, together to create an amazing game. Well, 2 years later, we got another trailer, which was the first trailer that showed us what Tokyo Mirage Sessions is, what SMT Cross Fire Emblem is. Boy, that was not what I was expecting. I'm gonna be really honest, I don't think I've ever been this salty during a trailer. Nothing Megaton was shown, a few FE characters were shown in a different way, and, well, lots of idle stuff. So, definitely far from what I was expecting with Devil Survivor Cross Fire Emblem or something, so that disappointed me, I'm not gonna lie. Now, in December 2015, the game released on the Wii U. I was extremely salty, so I completely skipped it. Yeah, I did. I skipped a game by Atlus. That doesn't happen too often. Here's my Wii U copy. I don't know if you guys can see it, but it's sealed. It is brand new. You can hear it though. It is still sealed. So I bought the game, never played it. I kept looking at it and I was like, nah, bruh, I'm good. But you're probably gonna ask me, David, you're on a video talking about 5 reasons why you should play Tokyo Mirage Sessions, so why are you telling me this? Well, in January 2020, Tokyo Mirage Session got re-released as a Sharp FE Encore on the Nintendo Switch. This version didn't change the game, actually. What changed is my perception. I put my stubbornness to the side and I decided to buy the game again and play it on the Switch. It released at a good time, I didn't have much to play, and I kept hearing some of my friends telling me that I should play this one. So, I did. I'm glad I did. I'm very glad I did. This game is great. Here's 5 reasons why you should play Tokyo Mirage Sessions in 2021.
One of the biggest reasons I think that Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore is a great game to pick up in 2021 is because of the dungeons that the game has you go through. The dungeons are really unique to each other. They don't feel the same. Sure, you're dungeon crawling throughout the entire thing, but throughout the entire game, you are solving puzzles, you're fighting all these mirages that come up to you. All the dungeons are very well crafted, and are not too long or too short. It's like that right length of time. Another thing that sets the dungeons apart is the fact that you can do certain side quests during them as well. Random characters, such as someone from the He-Ho Mark, will appear, have you defeat some mirages to bring them back to them, and you'll get rewards for that. Sometimes you'll have to backtrack to the dungeons to do certain side quests as well, but that doesn't feel too redundant to me. I think the dungeon crawling is great, the settings are unique, and they also offer a little bit of difficulty as well in their puzzle solving. There was one puzzle in particular during the first dungeon even. You really had to think through it, And the enemy encounter rate is pretty decent as well. It's not like Persona 1, where all the enemies just come out of nowhere and you're fighting every 30 seconds. You can hit the enemies, you can escape combat if you want to, and there are certain items that you can gain throughout the dungeons as well if you tread off the beaten path instead of going to your next objective immediately. I think dungeons is one of the reasons that Tokyo Mirage Sessions really shines.
So I'm gonna start by talking about one thing in Tokyo Mirage Sessions that I really like. The fact that there's a bunch of Megaton Easter eggs. So as a fan of Shin Megami Tensei, that is something that I really appreciated. As much as this game is not really Megaton, there's still a bunch of cool stuff in the game that is Megaton. Well, TMS spelled backward is SMT, so Shin Megami Tensei. So of course there's lots of references, and it's still SMT cross Fire Emblem at the end of the day, at least that's what they say. So I'm gonna give you guys a few references, a few Easter eggs in this game that comes from Megami Tensei that I think are very cool. I'm not gonna say all of them because I don't want to spoil everything, but I'm gonna give you a few that I think are very cool. One that you will notice right at the beginning of the game, while starting the game actually, is stores. There's a bunch of stores in Tokyo Mirage Sessions that the stores themselves are a reference to Megaton. The first one, the general shop in the game, is called Hiho Mart. Hiho, which is an obvious reference to Atlus's one and only mascot, Jack Frost. So very cool. The logo of the shop actually is Jack Frost, so that was really cool. Oh, and sometimes when you're in the shop, there is a second clerk that happens to be there. I'm not gonna say why exactly, you're gonna see that once you play the game, but the clerk wears a Black Frost mask, which is also a very cool reference to another Jack Brothers Black Frost, which is a character, a demon in Megaton that I really like. Now there's other shops, of course, and there are also references to Megaton. The Carabia Jewelry, of course, has Decarabia, a Megaton demon, on its logo, which is very cool. Anzu Tokyo Store is a store in the game which also has a Megaton demon with its logo being Anzu. Of course, Cafe Siren has mermaid on the logo, which mermaid is a common creature in mythology, so it's not specially from Megaton, but mermaid is still a Megaton demon. And there's also one reference that I actually just figured out while researching for this video, but Siren is actually mermaid in French, so sirène is mermaid in French, which is really cool. That's also another quick reference, which is dope. Now there's one last thing that we're not certain about. I looked at it and I tried to find more information online, but I'm not certain about this one. But there's another place in a TMS, which is Uzume Lesson Studio. And looking at the logo, it's kind of, I'm not too sure, but there's a demon in Megami Tensei, which is Ame no Uzume, and it might be a reference to this demon looking at the logo and of course the name. Since other places, other locations are references to Megaton demons, I think that kind of makes sense, but I was not able to find a specific confirmation, so I'm not too sure about that one. Now, in Tokyo Mirage Sessions, the demons or the enemies that you fight are not demons actually, they're called mirages. And there's certain mirages, which once again, I'm not gonna spoil because I think they're cool surprises, that are Megami Tensei demons, which is really cool. They have a different interpretation, the design and stuff is different from Kazuko's designs, but still very cool. Again, I'm not spoiling everything. You guys, if you decide to play Tokyo Mirage Session, you will see a bunch of cool Megami Tensei Easter eggs, which I really loved.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions really respects your time. In a world full of games that are 100 plus hours long, RPGs that are, can take up a good chunk of your time playing, Tokyo Mirage Sessions to me feels like a breath of fresh air in that aspect. The game takes around 30 to 40 hours to complete, depending on whether or not you do side quests, and after that, there's still a lot of content to enjoy after the game's over. The game, I feel like, really respects your time, unlike some JRPGs. I'm talking about Persona 5 Royal, which I spent almost 140 hours on during my first playthrough. I feel like Tokyo Mirage Sessions hits the high points really well. There's never a dull moment in the game. You're always exploring, Shibuya with your friends or doing side quests. In that aspect, I don't feel like the story overstays its welcome. I think it's that right length of time. It's a good 30 to 40 hours long, and you'll have a really good time with it.
Next up, then, the other thing that I want to talk about is the combat system in Tokyo Mirage Session. I'm gonna be really honest, guys. The combat is my favorite thing in this game. It is very good, very unexpected, and definitely not what I was expecting when I thought about SMT Cross Fire Emblem. The combat system in TMS is a turn-based RPG, turn-based combat system with 3 party members on field at the same time. Just like in Shin Megami Tensei, it is extremely important to exploit the enemy weaknesses for one particular reason. When you succeed in hitting the enemy weak spot, you enter a session. And what that means is that other characters in your party, on field or not, who have the same session skills in game, they will jump in on the field and hit the enemy. In other words, what that means is even if you have 3 enemies on field, your ally who hits the weakness of the enemy will do his spell, and afterwards you enter a session. This is where your other characters, on field or not, will jump in and also attack the enemy. That's a feature that I thought was extremely addictive, to be honest. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did, but it's just extremely fun to see all the characters all the time, blue, blue, blue. You just, on one turn where 3 of your party members have the chance to do a move, you can do 8 attacks, and that's amazing. That's really fun. That added a bit of difficulty to the game while being just enough different from other Shin Megami Tensei games, and keeping the fact that you absolutely need to exploit the weaknesses. So that was a very, very unique and fun feature that I adored. Honestly, this combat system is just extremely addictive. You don't necessarily need to grind that much in Tokyo Mirage Session. It's a combat system and a game in general that's just extremely well balanced, so you don't have to grind. But it was so addictive that, to me, sometimes I was like watching YouTube videos or listening to a podcast and just grinding at the same time on my Switch. I thought that was something that was really fun to do. So honestly, the combat system in this game, very good. An easy 9.5 out of 10. I adored it. There's other good things about this game, but just for the combat, this game's worth it.
The last thing I wanted to talk about is, of course, the soundtrack to Tokyo Mirage Sessions. You can't have a game with idols and have a soundtrack that's completely boring. Thankfully, Tokyo Mirage Sessions completely nails it. Led by composer Yoshiaki Fujisawa, Tokyo Mirage Sessions is absolutely one of my favorite soundtracks. The upbeatness of the entire game really speaks to me in the same way that Persona 4 spoke to me as well. As you guys might know, Persona 4 is my favorite soundtrack of all time. However, I think the Tokyo Mirage Sessions soundtrack is somewhat underrated. There's a lot of great songs on here. And the battle themes are good as well. It's not generic sounding. I feel like the composer really nailed the feel of the game. The soundtrack really makes me happy, and it's something that I can put on like my commute to work or something to get me in a good mood, so I really appreciate Tokyo Mirage Sessions in that aspect as well. And that about wraps it up right there. That was 5 reasons why you should play Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore on the Nintendo Switch in 2021. I hope I've convinced you enough to at least give the game a try. I feel it's very underrated and not talked about enough. So if you happen to try it or you've had experience with the game, let me know down in the comments section. Or if you have your own reasons why you think people should play the game, please let me know as well. I want to thank David for coming onto my video. We both love Tokyo Mirage Sessions and feel like it's a hidden gem on the Switch. Thank you all so much for watching my video. It means a lot to me. I'll see you guys later. King out.